And this has two Aramaic titles in it. If you look, you see Rav Saris, or Rav Saris, and Rav Mag. These are two titles. One is the chief eunuch, and one is the chief prince. You can see that in Aramaic, although it's very similar, and it does instate a title, which would be chief, but it is not yet a teacher. We still, even though we've searched the Hebrew and we've searched the Aramaic, we still don't have rabbi as we know it today. So there is a theory that when Yeshua spoke to his disciples, he spoke to his disciples in Aramaic. He spoke to the priests as in Hebrew. So when he spoke to his disciples, the priests wouldn't know what he was saying to his disciples. I don't know. I couldn't take that very far. It was basically just a theory. But it's possible that he could have done that. He could have used that. But there's also another theory that says that at the time, Rabbi, when they referred to Yeshua as the Rabbi, they were in fact referring to him as the Messiah. And if we look at this scripture, this is John the Baptist talking to his disciples. They said to him, Rabbi, he who is with you beyond the Jordan, to whom you have testified, behold, he is baptizing, and all are coming to him. They called John Rabbi. So, and if we go on to a few verses down, it says, you yourselves bear witness that I am not the Messiah. So John had already told his disciples that he was not the Messiah. He was the forerunner of the Messiah, but yet his disciples are still calling him Rabbi. So that obviously does not fit the context. They would not knowingly call John the Messiah, knowing that he was not the Messiah. So, with that being said, obviously Rabbi throughout the Old Testament, if you find Rabbi in the New Testament or in the Old Testament, it does not mean what it means to us today. It was actually a different word altogether. It was master, the exalted one, the great. It was the reference of the head of the household, the master of the house. Yeshua, by all means, is the master of the house. And I'm not trying to take away the credit of Yeshua being the great rabbi, because by all means he is. He is the master of all. But the way that the scripture has been miscued over the time is that no man deserves the title of rabbi, because that is what Yeshua said. And that is not true at all. If you're going to call a pastor, if you were going to call a rabbi, he's earned his title. He's been given his title. It's been passed on to him. He deserves it. And Yeshua was not trying to say anything about that. This is the scene. Yeshua is teaching his disciples. The Pharisees come up and question his theology. And in the time frame of speaking to his disciples, he begins to use the Pharisees as a sermon illustration, saying, don't become like this. I am your teacher. Don't listen to them. And if you go one step further than that, you go all the way back. Look, and this man is a wonderful painter. In my opinion, he's a prophetic painter. His name is Tasset, and he's an 18th century French painter. But he's painted things that I never thought I would have seen come out of that era. But if you look at the garments of the Pharisees, and look at the garments of his disciples and Yeshua himself, they have exalted themselves with colors. They've made themselves stand out in a crowd. You can look at this painting and by all means pick out who the Pharisees are. They had exalted themselves above men. And Yeshua was bringing them down a notch, saying, one is your teacher. If the Messiah is going to take himself down to teacher, do not refer to yourself as a master. Do not refer to yourself to be exalted. You're not the great anything, because I am a teacher. I'm not even going to exalt myself to that level, and I'm the Messiah. why should you exalt yourself to that level? That is what that scripture means. And beyond a shadow of a doubt, everything that I have looked at says that this is what this moment was. Do not become like these. So, we've clarified that scripture and maybe opened some eyes to see the difference in what Yeshua was trying to say. But we still have not answered what's a rabbi? How did we come to know a rabbi as what we've known him as today? In order to do that, we do have to go all the way back to Babylon. But we're not going back to Babylon to search a language. We're going back to Babylon to search for a teacher. But we go all the way back to a teacher named Hillel. Hillel was born in Babylon. He was from the tribe of Benjamin. He moved to Jerusalem at the age of 40, and he, being a student of the Torah in Babylon, he comes back to Jerusalem, well-worded in Scripture, and gains a following. And most of your Pharisees of the first century studied under Hillel for 80 years. And he founded a school in Jerusalem, Beit Hillel, the house of Hillel. And his teachings pointed towards love, pointed towards peace. He was quoted as describing the Torah, if you think it's hateful to you, then don't do it to your neighbor. And in this is the entire Torah, now go learn it. And that goes back to what Yeshua said. What is the greatest of all the commandments? To love your Father with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. And the one that just like it, love your neighbor as yourself. It was very close to what Hillel said. Yeshua was probably raised learning the teachings of Hillel. And Hillel died 20 years before Yeshua came into ministry. So it's a very good chance that he was raised on the teachings of Hillel in the Beit Hillel school. Hillel passed on his authority in Beit Hillel to Shimon ben Gamliel. Shimon ben Gamliel was Hillel's grandson. He was also Paul's teacher, according to Acts 22:3. He defended Yeshua as a member of the Sanhedrin, as in Acts 5:33 through 39. He upheld the teachings of Hillel, taught the Torah to the strictest letter, and also gave credit, he was given credit for the organization of the revolt against the Romans, which later led to the destruction of the temple. And Shimon ben Gamliel was believed to be a closet believer in Yeshua, as many of the other members of the Sanhedrin were. Shimon ben Gamliel then passed on to Yochanan ben Zakkai. And this is a carving or a statue, a sculpture, a bust, however you want to refer it.
You did really good at the painting, so 2 points for that.
But he was...
to who? Passed on Hillel to who?
To Yochanan ben Zakkai. And he is noted as the youngest student of Hillel. He was also believed to be a teacher at Beit Hillel and would have been a student with Rav Shaul or Paul. Ben Zakkai was a prominent leader during the Jewish revolt in 60 CE. He was also credited as the father of rabbinic Judaism. He's quoted throughout the Mishnah and the Talmud. And there's a legend that goes along with